So I knew that Omar, you had a company before you set the EnergiMine's, like 2 companies was really successful already.
Yeah.
And you just sold out.
Yeah.
How is the the process where you're preparing blockchain platform?
Yeah, I mean it's really important for us. So blockchain technology is still in its infancy. It's still quite new. So I think what we're really looking at now, the whole industry is looking at where can we apply blockchain in the real world. So I think the energy market is actually one of the biggest user cases for blockchain technology because it makes trading more efficient. For example, it's able to show an audit of where energy comes from. So I think blockchain in the energy industry is going to be huge.
So Omar, you have in the energy trading field, especially in terms of the trading, what is the difference between the normal trading in terms of energy?
Yeah, so using blockchain as an energy trading platform, the technology is the first part we have to get right. So that's one part of the problem, is making sure the technology is secure, making sure it's efficient. The other part is really about regulation. Energy markets are some of the most regulated markets in the world. We really have to understand regulation, which is why we work quite so closely with Lord Reedsdale, who's a member of the UK Parliament, to really give us an insight into the way that regulators and
he's now the Parliament member.
Yes. So in terms of looking at regulation, that's the second part that makes it really important for us. So with blockchain being so new, I think you have to have both. You have to have sort of the secure technology as well as understand the regulation. So before we start trading peer-to-peer, you really need to have these 2 pieces solved. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that you really need to, energy is a long, we're always going to need energy, 5 years and 10 years and 20 years. So right now it's quite early. There's a lot of question marks over. I think the way some energy projects sold themselves was promising too much. We're very careful to only promise what we can deliver. A lot of people talked about we're going to create an exchange and everybody's going to be trading energy peer-to-peer in 12 months, which is just not realistic. If you think about how in every country in the world you have a market dominated by very large energy programs, it takes time for that to change.
For example, just in terms of renewable energy, there are lots of kinds of energies. Especially you, Omar, you in charge of which in charge of the energy.
Yeah.
Which kinds of energy? Can you explain a bit?
Yeah. So blockchain and renewable energy go together again in 2 ways. Number 1 in trading, and number 2 in looking at the audit trail. So in trading, we're already seeing generation become decentralized. So people in lots of parts of the world, they already have solar panels or wind turbines, so they can start to generate energy. But they don't have anywhere to sell that energy. They're still selling that energy to the big supply companies. So blockchain will play a key part in creating a peer-to-peer market so that you don't necessarily need the energy company to play the same role. The other part really is looking at the audit trail, so looking at the traceability of energy. So for large corporations, where your energy comes from is really important. So a lot of big corporations say we have a target to source 100% green energy by 2020, for example. So how do you prove something is green? Because once a solar panel generates or a wind turbine generates, it goes onto the grid and it's all mixed up and you can't really trace it. With blockchain, you're able to source that every kilowatt hour right down to the source, so you can really say that it's 100% green. So these are the 2 big applications for the energy market as we see it.
Okay. So and then just recently just planning on rebranding for EnergiMine's. You just bring on like opportunities, not just can them for any purpose.
Yeah, the thinking behind the rebrand was that EnergiMine is solving lots of different problems in energy. With our token, for example, we're incentivizing energy reduction. With a lot of parts of our business, we're building a peer-to-peer market, so we're doing quite a lot of activity. So with the rebrand, we really wanted to tie it in with our global strategy. So obviously we're here in Korea, we're doing this in Japan, in the UK, the US, lots of countries in Europe. and we wanted a sort of a common branding throughout those markets. And the way I always describe it is that, you know, we want to think like a big company, a big corporation, and we want to feel like a serious company, but we want to retain the flexibility of a startup. I think that's kind of our biggest strength. So the rebrand really ties that all together and gives us that look and feel of what we're aspiring to.
Okay, so the people who involved in the EnergiMine token, who bought them, how they can have some rewards through the EnergiMine tokens, because a lot of the companies just have an infrastructure of that, but they have not big difference between, you know, normal business who get reward, coffee shop, like so we can just and also some investors who can have benefits on that.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So I think the idea behind Energy Token is to reward energy saving. So we're trying to change the argument from a moral argument to a financial argument. So a really good example is the hotel that we're in right now. Okay, we have a partnership with this hotel. It's the first one in the world that will be issuing energy tokens as a reward.
Cappuccino.
In Hotel Cappuccino, that's right. So this is a really good way of, by somebody staying here, they're making an energy or eco-friendly decision. And for example, they can do activities in the hotel like, you know, changing their towels every 2 days instead of every 1 day, which is saving energy. And for that, they get rewarded the token. You know, after hospitality, another big sector that we think will use the token is going to be the transportation sector. So we want to reward people for using public transportation. You know, this is I think I've been to Korea and Seoul 10 or 11 times, and every time I'm surprised by the traffic in the city. Trying to, you know, whether I get traffic. It always stops traffic, yeah. So I think there's a big need, like any other big city, that there needs to be an incentive to tell people not to take their car and to take the train or metro system. So to do that, again, people need an incentive. If I say to you, you shouldn't take a taxi or you should take a car because it's the right thing to do, it's not a very strong argument. Whereas if I say to you, okay, you know, we're going to incentivize you by paying you, you know, 10,000 won, 20,000 won per month, then some people might think, okay, then maybe it's worth taking public transport. And if we drive people onto public transport, it also cuts down the cost of government, it increases the air quality, and of course reduces CO2 emissions. So in that circle, everybody sort of wins from that situation.
So, do you have any plan on Korea for the business for in the future, or if you have doing that, just tell me.
Yeah. So Korea has always been important for us. It's always been a key market, as well as 60% of our token holders being Korean. The level of adoption in Korea and the fact that the energy systems here are stressed, like many other big cities in the world, makes Korea a really interesting market for us. So as I mentioned, the first partnership that we announced in the hospitality sector was here in Seoul. What we're really looking to do now is, as we grow our business, we're really looking for local partners. You know, we know what we're good at. We understand energy markets, we can build the tech, but we don't pretend to be experts in the Korean market. You know, we study as best as we can, but really we're looking for local partners here. It could be a large corporation, local government institutions that have interest to launch EnergiMine Korea with us, so we can help start to tackle some of the problems here in Korea as well.
So in Korean market, do you have got any problems here in terms of the energy field? Or if they need something, can you do you have any plan to help them to facilitate some markets? By tokenizing or something? Yeah,
absolutely. The two areas that we feel we can help the situation, the energy situation in Korea. Number one, are to incentivize low energy consumption. So creating a reward system for rewarding people who use less energy. And that could be taking public transport, it could be buying energy efficient televisions or washing machines or so on. The second area really is, so far we've been a software company. You know, we've been developing software for 2 years in EnergiMine. We're just about to make a move into the hardware sector for the first time, which we're announcing now. And we've created our own smart plugs. So these smart plugs act as a smart meter, so they measure how much energy individuals are using. They can fit in any regular energy, electrical socket. They measure how much energy you're using, but also the plug acts as a node on a network. So we're building a distributed supercomputer, which is used for data processing. So as a guide for you, data processing at the moment uses about 3% of global electricity. In the next 7 years, it will use 20% of the world's electricity. So it's a huge, huge problem that is coming. So if you imagine trillions of IoT devices, we're going to have a real problem with energy consumption and the processing of data. So with our smart plugs are between 30 and 55% more efficient than used to process data, which means the cost of processing that data is greatly reduced. So this is the kind of project that is much bigger than anything we've tackled before.